The Galactic Council sat in tense silence, each representative from a different world, an alien species, a different set of customs, yet all eyes were focused on the central holographic display. As the debate raged on the Krill, were an enigma, a new threat that had emerged at the edge of Council space. Their ships were fast and efficient, but more importantly, their warships were unlike anything seen before, more advanced than any known species in the galaxy. Their tactics were brutal, their conquests swift, and without mercy. Entire colonies had been wiped out before the Council had even been alerted. Now the room was divided. Some members insisted immediate military action, others called for a more cautious approach. A vote was called on the best strategy to contain the Krill, but it was interrupted by a flashing alert, a sudden transmission from Earth. The human representative scrambled to his seat. The Council's eyes turned toward him as he struggled to maintain composure. The transmission was brief, a single line of text scrolling across the screen stating a simple message: Earth's fleet has mobilized for the defense of its colonies. The room went dead silent. Every representative knew that Earth was considered a primitive species, technologically far behind the galactic powers of the Council. Their forces were laughable compared to the might of the Darnath or the Tertians, who had been shaping the galaxy for millennia. How could a species like humans have a fleet capable of responding to a threat like the Krill? The human representative raised his voice, saying with confidence, Earth's fleet has been in operation for some time. Our ships are ready to defend our territory against any hostile force. The Krill, included several council members, scoffed at the very thought. How could Earth even know how to design such ships, let alone deploy them in battle? The Targan representative, a race known for their advanced understanding of technology and warfare, laughed and said, Earth's fleet is nothing more than an illusion, a collection of outdated warships cobbled together from old technology. The Darnath leader added, Earth's civilizations have not been part of the galactic community for decades. They have no place in our politics. Their ships are of no consequence. Before the debate could continue, a sudden disturbance was felt across the chamber. A deep hum filled the air, and a holographic image blinked into existence. At the center of the room, a live feed from deep space, showing something entirely unexpected. Earth's fleet was real, and it was enormous. Sleek ships glided silently through the dark reaches of space. Their designs were unlike anything the Council had seen before. With curved surfaces and intricate patterns, they were not made of the same materials used by the other galactic species. These ships had a life of their own, as if they were crafted by a completely different understanding of technology. The fleet's commanders appeared on screen, speaking with a calm authority. The Krill have entered Earth's space, and we will not allow them to conquer us. Earth's forces are already engaging the enemy, and our defense strategies are already in motion. The transmission ended abruptly, but not before a final image flashed on the screen: a massive human warship opening fire on a Krill cruiser, the beam striking with such precision and power that the cruiser broke apart in an instant. The room was filled with shock, gasps, murmurs, and silence for several long moments. No one knew how to respond. The Krill had just been dealt a devastating blow by a species they had thought of as weak and insignificant. Earth's secret fleet was not only real, but it was already turning the tide in the battle for their survival. The council chamber buzzed with a cacophony of voices as the initial shock wore off. Representatives from all corners of the galaxy argued fiercely, some still in disbelief, others demanding to know more. Earth's fleet was not just a rumor, it was real, and it had already engaged the Krill on a scale that no one had anticipated. The Targan representative was the first to regain composure, slamming his hand on the table and demanding immediate access to more data. He insisted the council had been kept in the dark about Earth's military capabilities for far too long. The human representative responded coolly, "We've kept it hidden for the same reason we've kept many things hidden. Humanity does not seek to provoke the galaxy into a war, but when forced to defend itself, we will do so with everything we have." Across the galaxy on Earth's homeworld, the situation was no less intense. As soon as the transmission ended, military commands went into full effect. Fleets of ships in orbit began their coordinated strikes against the Krill's invading forces. It was a show of power and precision that humanity had never demonstrated before to the rest of the galaxy. What they saw was a force to be reckoned with. The first human warships to engage were led by Captain Elara Miles, a veteran of Earth's secret fleet, and a brilliant tactician who had been part of the fleet's development for over a decade. Under her command, the human ships did the unthinkable. They didn't merely fight back. They fought smart. The Krill had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt and outthink any foe they had faced before the alien invaders had relied on their overwhelming numbers and advanced weapons. But what they didn't account for was Earth's ability to evolve its tactics on the fly. Captain Miles instructed her fleet to use the environment to their advantage, pulling the Krill into ambush points within asteroid fields and narrow space corridors, where the Krill's larger ships were at a disadvantage. The Krill could not keep up with Earth's guerrilla-style attack ships emerging from unexpected angles and retreating before the invaders could react. Humanity was learning fast and adapting faster. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the debate had shifted dramatically. The skepticism from the earlier moments had turned into fear and wonder. The Krill had only been a few steps into Earth's sector, and they were already retreating in disarray. The problem now was how to deal with Earth's sudden rise to prominence. The Turgeons, a species known for their strategic brilliance and cold logic, were the first to suggest what everyone was secretly thinking. If Earth's fleet could engage the Krill with such efficiency and deadly precision, then what other unknown forces were hiding in humanity's arsenal? Could Earth be hiding even more advanced weaponry and technologies than what was currently on display? The human representative was firm in his response. "We have no interest in joining your political games, nor in submitting to your rules. Earth will defend itself first and foremost, but should the need arise, we will fight alongside the galaxy. When it is in our best interest." Humanity's position was clear. We will not be controlled, and we will never back down. Meanwhile, the Krill found themselves in a crisis of their own. They had never encountered a species like humanity before. Tenacious, unpredictable, and relentless. In their last-ditch attempt to regain some ground, they sent a wave of reinforcements, including their flagship, the Dread Overlord, an enormous ship capable of devastating entire planets with its weapons and firepower. But even the overwhelming force of the Dread Overlord could not intimidate Earth's fleet. The battle was only beginning, and the galaxy was about to learn that Earth was no longer the quiet corner of the universe it had once been. As the final Krill forces retreated from Earth's orbital space, the Council began to understand just how dangerous this new variable was. Humanity was no longer just a distant planet in the far reaches of the galaxy. Earth had announced its presence, and the universe would never be the same. As the battle for Earth's space raged on, the Galactic Council was forced to reassess everything they thought they knew about humanity and its place in the galaxy. The transmissions from Earth's fleet were steady and confident, and their victories against the Krill were mounting with each passing day. Earth had become an enigma. A species once thought primitive, now standing tall against one of the most fearsome threats the galaxy had ever seen. But the real question remained unanswered. How had Earth developed such advanced technology and such a formidable fleet without the rest of the galaxy knowing? The Council was still grappling with the idea that humanity had been hiding this power for so long. A number of species demanded answers to explain how Earth had come to possess such a hidden arsenal. For centuries, Earth had been considered a backwater world on the fringes of galactic politics, and while their technological advancements were impressive by their own standards, they were nothing compared to the megastructures and ships of the Council races. It wasn't until a covered investigation into Earth's history revealed a stunning truth. Earth had stumbled upon something far older than their own civilization deep beneath their own surface. During the Cold War, Earth's governments had begun a series of secret experiments in Antarctica. A search for something that was never meant to be found. They had uncovered an ancient alien structure hidden beneath the ice, one that contained technologies far beyond anything the human race had developed by itself. It wasn't just alien technology that Earth found, but an entirely different blueprint for the future. The structure itself was a remnant of a long-lost species from beyond the galaxy's edge. Their civilization had risen and fallen long before the current galactic powers even existed, and from this mysterious alien structure, humanity had learned to harness and build technology that bent the very fabric of space. The ancient structures beneath the ice contained blueprints, maps that led humanity to technologies they had no right to understand at the time. But humanity's greatest strength lay not in their ability to decipher those blueprints, but in their relentless drive to improve themselves. Every piece of alien technology they uncovered was adapted and improved upon by Earth's best scientists, engineers, and military minds. Earth's fleet had not been hastily assembled. It was a culmination of decades of reverse engineering and innovation, integrating the best of what humanity had learned from the alien technology into a fleet of warships that could rival the greatest powers of the galaxy. Yet it wasn't just the ships that made Earth's fleet so dangerous, it was the people who manned them. The crews of these ships were made up of the best and brightest humanity had to offer, individuals who had been carefully selected and trained for decades in secret. They were the descendants of humanity's great wars, the survivors who had learned the art of strategy and endurance, the lessons of survival and ingenuity that no one else had mastered. Earth's pilots navigated the stars with a ferocity born from generations of struggle. The military minds behind the fleet were able to think several moves ahead, predicting the movements of the Krill and using their enemies' own tactics against them. But Earth's secret fleet was still just that. Secret. Earth's governments had hidden the truth from their own citizens as much as from the rest of the galaxy. They had built the fleet not for intergalactic conquest, but for survival. Humanity had known that a time might come when the rest of the galaxy would see them as expendable, nothing more than a small world on the fringe of a vast and uncaring universe. So they prepared in secret, knowing that one day their time would come, and they would be forced to protect themselves. Now, as Earth's fleet continued to strike back against the Krill invaders, the Council was forced to confront a new reality. Earth was no longer the weakling in the galactic community. It was a force to be reckoned with, a wild card that no one could afford to ignore. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now Earth was showing them just what they were capable of. The Krill, once confident in their ability to conquer any world they encountered, found themselves completely thrown off balance by Earth's unexpected response. For the first time in their brutal campaign across the galaxy, they were facing an enemy that didn't cower, didn't flee, and most importantly, didn't fight the way they expected. Earth wasn't using sheer numbers or overwhelming firepower. They were using tactics the Krill had never encountered before. The Krill had been too arrogant, too used to steamrolling through technologically inferior species with their superior size and strength. But Earth's fleet had turned the tables. The battles were unlike anything the Krill had experienced. Captain Elara Miles, Earth's most decorated commander, had become a name that struck fear into the hearts of the Krill. Her strategy was simple but brilliant. She understood that humanity's strength lay not in brute force, but in adaptability, deception, and guerrilla warfare. She utilized the asteroid fields near Earth's colonies as natural traps, luring Krill warships into narrow corridors where Earth's fleet could ambush them from multiple angles. Each battle felt like a predator toying with its prey, drawing the Krill deeper into territory they couldn't control. The Krill, initially stunned, tried to adapt. They sent reinforcements, an entire fleet of new warships, larger and more menacing than anything they had sent before. Their flagship, the Dread Overlord, was the pride of their military, a monstrous warship capable of destroying entire planets. With it, they hoped to crush Earth's resistance in one final, overwhelming strike. But Earth's fleet was already prepared. The flagship, the Dread Overlord, might have had more firepower, but Captain Miles knew exactly how to take it down. She anticipated their approach, laid out her fleet in a series of decoy positions, and lured the Dread Overlord into the perfect ambush. When the battle began, Earth's fleet didn't simply attack head-on. They scattered, moving in and out of formation with uncanny precision. Krill warships fired wildly, desperate to hit something, but Earth's ships were always one step ahead, outmaneuvering them at every turn. The Dread Overlord was flanked by smaller human warships that fired precisely aimed torpedoes into its vulnerable points, breaking apart its shields and causing its weapon systems to malfunction. The Krill flagship, once thought invincible, was slowly crippled in a series of calculated moves. The Krill commander aboard the Dread Overlord could only watch in stunned disbelief as his mighty ship was torn apart by the precision of Earth's forces. When the flagship finally fell, the battle was all but over. The remaining Krill forces, disorganized and confused, tried to regroup, but Earth's fleet was relentless. One by one, the Krill ships were picked off, until only a handful remained. The Krill were forced to retreat, leaving Earth's colonies untouched, their ambitions shattered. For the first time in their brutal campaign, the Krill had been decisively beaten by a species they had never considered a threat, and the galaxy was left reeling from the realization that Earth's fleet was more than just a hidden force. It was a well-oiled machine capable of achieving what no one had thought possible. Back in the Galactic Council, the mood had shifted dramatically. What had started as doubt and disbelief had now turned to respect and fear. Earth had proven itself to be a powerhouse, and the galaxy was scrambling to understand how such a seemingly insignificant species had pulled off the impossible. The council members no longer scoffed at Earth's fleet. They were watching closely, calculating their next move. No one knew what Earth's next step would be, but one thing was certain: the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. And while the Krill retreated, humiliated, Captain Miles and her fleet prepared for the next wave. Earth's secret fleet had just delivered a message. Humanity was no longer a quiet observer in the galaxy. They were players in the grand game, and the galaxy would have to contend with them from now on. The retreat of the Krill was a blow to their empire that reverberated throughout the galaxy, but it was also a revelation to the Galactic Council. Earth, once viewed as a backwater planet far behind in technological development, had just demonstrated its military prowess in a way that no one had ever imagined. As the Council convened once more, it was clear that the dynamics of galactic politics had shifted permanently. No one could ignore Earth anymore. No one could pretend humanity was still a minor player in the cosmic theater. The debate in the council chamber was fierce. Some representatives, particularly from the Targan and Terzian factions, urged swift action. "We cannot allow Earth to remain outside our control," said the Targan delegate, his voice cold and calculating. "Their power, hidden until now, could become a threat to us all. If they are allowed to continue growing unchecked, who knows what they might do next?" The Terzian representative, a tall being with shimmering silver skin, nodded in agreement. "Earth's secrecy is a dangerous precedent. We must bring them into..." The Krill had suffered their worst defeat in centuries, and their retreat was nothing short of a humiliation. For the first time in their brutal expansion, they had been forced to pull back and abandon a conquest they had believed to be a foregone conclusion. Yet their pride was unbroken. The Krill were a ruthless and vengeful species, and they would not let such a loss go unanswered. They were already regrouping, calling in reinforcements from every corner of their vast empire, preparing for a counterattack that would shake the galaxy to its core. The Dread Overlord had fallen, but the Krill still had their most devastating weapon: their sheer numbers, and they had learned from their mistakes. Their next move would be calculated, methodical, and far more deadly. But there was one thing they hadn't counted on: Earth wasn't done yet. While the Krill licked their wounds and rebuilt their forces, the Galactic Council continued to wrangle over Earth's place in the galaxy. The divisions within the Council had only deepened. Some factions, such as the Terzians and the Targan, were growing more impatient by the day, convinced that humanity was an unpredictable variable they could no longer ignore. They pushed for immediate action, seeking to force Earth into a formal alliance or impose some form of oversight on their growing military power. But the Darnath and the Kore remained hesitant. The Darnath in particular had seen the potential for a future where Earth could be a valuable ally, not just a military force to be controlled. They understood the importance of diplomacy, of treating the humans with respect, and offering them a seat at the table on their own terms. To them, Earth represented something rare, an unknown potential, a species with a drive and adaptability that could one day prove invaluable. Despite the internal debates, one thing was certain. Earth had become an undeniable presence. Even the krill, in their anger and frustration, were beginning to acknowledge humanity's unexpected strength. They were no longer just a backwater species. Earth had just shown the galaxy that they could hold their own against one of the most formidable enemies to ever exist. Back on Earth, Captain Elara Miles and her fleet had already begun to prepare for the inevitable second wave from the krill. The invasion had been stopped for now, but the krill were not a species that would simply accept defeat. They were coming back, and Earth was ready. The fleet had gone through countless drills, prepared for the next battle, the next strike. The human soldiers and officers were more than ready. They had something that the krill lacked: the will to never stop fighting. Captain Miles gathered her command staff in the war room, a stark, dimly lit chamber filled with holographic displays and real-time maps. "The krill will be back," she said, her voice steady and unwavering. "We know their tactics, and we've learned from them. We will not give them a chance to regroup. This time, we will hit them harder and faster than before." Her words were met with nods of agreement. The fleet was not just preparing for a defense. They were preparing for a counterattack. Earth's first battle had been a victory, but it was a battle in a larger war, and humanity had no intention of being passive observers anymore. The krill, meanwhile, were assembling their forces, desperate for vengeance. They would come with everything they had: bigger ships, stronger weapons, more soldiers. But the galaxy had underestimated humanity once. It wouldn't make the same mistake again. The stage was set. The next conflict would not just be about protecting Earth. It would be about showing the galaxy that humanity had no intention of fading into the background ever again. Earth's fleet, with all its cunning and hidden strength, would prove that its place in the universe was earned, not given. As the krill mobilized for their counterattack, the question remained: would the galaxy be ready for what humanity was about to unleash next? The answer was unclear, but one thing was certain. Earth was no longer just a species fighting for survival. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would have to adapt to this new reality, whether they liked it or not. The tension in the galaxy was palpable. Across countless star systems, the signs of an impending war loomed large. The krill were not ones to forget a defeat, and their thirst for vengeance was already driving them to new extremes. Their forces were amassing, every warship in their arsenal being pulled into position, every weapon being recalibrated for what they hoped would be their final push to obliterate Earth's resistance. The galaxy had yet to see the true scale of the krill war machine, and this time, the krill would leave nothing to chance. On Earth, Captain Elara Miles and her fleet were well aware of what was coming. The intelligence gathered from their first victory against the krill was invaluable. The humans knew the krill's strengths, weaknesses, and most importantly, their desperation. This time, however, Earth's fleet would be the aggressor, not just defending their homeworld, but striking at the heart of the krill's invasion forces. The time for passive resistance was over. Humanity was stepping into the role of a true galactic power. A clandestine meeting took place between Earth's military leadership and several key factions of the Galactic Council, who had come to realize that Earth was not just a force to be feared, but a potential ally. The Darnath and the Korra, cautious but willing to extend the olive branch, were the first to recognize the possibility of a partnership. Earth's representative, a man named Alex Carter, stood tall among the council delegates, exuding confidence as he addressed them. "We're not looking for handouts," Carter said, his voice firm but respectful. "We're offering you a choice. We can join forces against the krill, or we can watch as they tear through the galaxy. The Earth will not stand by and let their destruction spread. But we're not asking for your loyalty or submission. We're asking for your cooperation. The krill have shown us what they're capable of, and if we're to stop them, we'll need to work together." The council, divided as always, was forced to confront the reality that humanity's military capabilities could no longer be ignored. The Tertians and the Targans still eyed Earth with suspicion, but the importance of dealing with the Krill weighed heavily on everyone's minds. A tenuous alliance began to form, though it was far from a unanimous decision. Still, the decision was made. Earth would join the fight against the Krill with the backing of the Council's forces. But as the new alliance began to solidify, the Krill were already making their move. They had taken the lessons from their previous defeat and devised a new, more brutal strategy. Instead of attacking Earth directly, they had set their sights on the galactic trade routes, knowing that whoever controlled the flow of resources and information controlled the galaxy. Their fleet was vast, and their new warships, far larger and more advanced than before, were already on the move, cutting off critical supply lines and isolating key planets under the guise of tactical strikes. The first sign of the Krill's new offensive came when they attacked the Norrex system, a crucial hub for trade and communication. The Norexian fleet was overwhelmed within hours, and their once thriving planet was reduced to rubble. The message was clear. The Krill weren't just coming for Earth, they were coming for everything. Earth's response was immediate. Captain Miles was the first to deploy a rapid response fleet, a mix of human warships and those of their newly formed allies. They moved to the Norrex system, but it was clear that the fight would not be easy. The Krill had adapted, and they were bringing their full might to bear on the galaxy's weakest points. As the battle raged across the Norrex system, Captain Miles knew one thing for certain. The galaxy had underestimated Earth once before, and the Krill would soon learn that doing so again would be their undoing. Humanity's fleet had proven itself in their first engagement, but this war was far from over. Earth was now a power on the rise, and the Krill's reckoning had only just begun. The Norrex system was in chaos. The Krill had proven their dominance once again, reducing the once thriving system to a battlefield of destruction. But Captain Elara Miles and her fleet had arrived, not as mere reinforcements, but as a signal to the galaxy that Earth was not backing down. As the human ships joined the fray, they cut through the Krill forces with precision, coordinated strikes that reflected the years of secret preparation. This wasn't just a defense, it was a counteroffensive. Earth was showing its true potential, and the galaxy would soon have no choice but to reckon with it. The alliance of Council forces, though inexperienced with human tactics, found themselves energized by Earth's unrelenting drive. The Tertians, who had initially been skeptical, began to see the brilliance of Earth's strategy. The Darnath, ever the diplomats, were impressed by humanity's resolve, and even the Korra, who had always been advocates for peace, saw that Earth wasn't just a force of military might. It was a symbol of resilience. The galaxy was watching, waiting, and for the first time, they were realizing that Earth was a force that could reshape the future of galactic power. But the Krill weren't done. They were adapting faster than anyone had anticipated. Their retreat in the Norrex system had only been temporary. As Earth's fleet pushed the invaders back, they discovered a disturbing truth. The Krill had been laying the groundwork for something much more dangerous. A superweapon capable of destabilizing entire star systems. It was something they had been quietly constructing in the heart of their empire, far from the eyes of the galaxy. Now, with the defeat at Norrex, they had activated it. The weapon was already on a direct course to Earth. The Council scrambled in panic. The Krill superweapon was unlike anything they had ever seen. A weapon so powerful it could obliterate planets with a single strike. The galaxy, unified in their fear of the Krill, now had to rely on Earth's technological expertise. They needed humanity's ingenuity if there was any hope of stopping the weapon in time. Captain Miles was the first to understand what needed to be done. She had studied the Krill's weapon systems before, had seen their patterns in battle, and knew how they thought. She quickly organized a team of Earth's brightest engineers, scientists, and military tacticians. Their goal was simple: infiltrate the Krill's command ship and disable the superweapon before it reached Earth. There was no time to waste. The stakes had never been higher. With a plan in place, the combined forces of Earth's fleet and the Council moved toward the Krill stronghold. Captain Miles, alongside a small team of elite operatives, boarded a specialized ship designed to breach the Krill defenses. The ship, a sleek hybrid of human and Council technology, was a testament to the cooperation that had grown between Earth and the galaxy's races in such a short time. They would fight together, or they would all fall together. The journey was perilous. The closer they got to the heart of Krill space, the more they encountered enemy ships, defenses, and ambushes. But Earth's fleet, with its tactical genius and relentless drive, cut through the Krill lines like a blade through paper. The final assault on the superweapon's flagship was swift and brutal. Ilara Miles led her team in a daring strike, infiltrating the heart of the Krill's operations. In the end, it came down to a single decisive moment. Miles stood before the superweapon's control console, heart pounding, as the countdown to Earth's destruction ticked away. With a swift motion, she disabled the weapon, sending the Krill into disarray. Earth's forces were victorious once again. The galaxy had learned an undeniable lesson. Earth was no longer a small, insignificant planet on the fringe of space. Humanity had proven its strength, not just through its victories, but through its ability to unite, adapt, and fight for its future. The Krill were defeated, and Earth had led the charge. As Captain Miles watched the Krill forces retreat, she realized that the battle for survival had turned into something more, a battle for humanity's place in the universe. The galaxy, now forever changed, would no longer look at Earth as a mere backwater world. Earth had earned its place among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same.